Hi guys, welcome once again to my YouTube channel. So on today's tutorial, we're learning how to draft a double-breasted blazer gown. Okay, by my left is the style inspiration, by the right is my own creation. So this is what we'll be doing today. Please watch to the very end, okay? Because every detail, every second of this video is very important. And don't forget to subscribe, okay? Please and please don't forget to subscribe. So to begin, you need your measuring tape, meter rule, French curve, marker, sellotape, and most importantly, your pattern paper. So first thing, we're going to start by drafting out the back piece. This is because we'll need to measure the neck when we want to draft the front piece. So we're going to start with the back piece first. Now for the back piece, we'll start by taking the shoulder line measurement. You draw a straight line across your pattern paper, which will serve as the shoulder line. Then after that, you measure the bust point, which is 10, your waistline or your half length. I'm using 15. Then your hip line, making use of 24. Then after that, you measure the full length of the gown, the full length of the dress, of the blazer. So after doing that, you draw a straight line, a straight horizontal line across this point. After drawing a straight horizontal line across this point, next, we're going to take the neck measurement. Now for the neck measurement, we're going to measure 3 inches wide and 1.5 inch in depth. The neck measurement will be 3 inches wide, which is a normal neck. Then in depth, it will be 1.5. Now when we are done with this, we're going to get the neck curve by using our curve to sketch out the neck curve. Now after doing this, you're going to take your shoulder length. The shoulder length I'm making use of is 7. We all know 7 is already divided because the normal shoulder length is 14. 14 divided by 2 is 7. Then I draw a straight line down. Now from that point I measure 7. I'll measure 1 inch down to get my shoulder slope. Now when we are done with that, we're going to measure the armhole. The armhole I'm using is 7.5. After measuring your armhole, the point where you marked as your armhole, you're going to draw a straight line across that point. That line will serve as your chest line. Then we're going to label the remaining line, which is the bust point, the waistline, or the half length, your hip line, then the full blouse length. Now after doing that, you're going to measure your nipple to nipple measurement. Mine is 4. So you mark 4 down the lines. You mark 4 on all the lines, then you draw a straight line passing across all those points. You draw a vertical line passing across all those points. After doing that, we are going to take out our dart from the half length. That's from the waist. You take out your dart. The dart I'm taking out is 1 inch. So after taking out the dart, from the bust point, I'm going to measure 12 inch down. That is before the hip line. That's where the dart will stop. Now, after doing that, on the chest line, you measure your bust measurements. Divide by 4 plus your allowance, your seam allowance. When you mark it on your chest line, then you divide your armhole into 2. You divide your armhole into 2. Then from the point on the armhole, you make a curve. From that point, you divide it into 2 on the armhole. You make a curve down to your measurement on your chest line. On the chest line, let me repeat, on the chest line, you take your bust measurement, divide by 4 plus your seam allowance, then you divide your armhole into 2. Make a point on the armhole, then from that point, you draw a curve down to the chest line measurement. After doing that, you measure the entire armhole with your tape rule, then you find the midpoint and draw a curve from that midpoint to your bust point in form of a princess dart. This is exactly just like a princess dart. That's what you do here. You use your tape rule, measure the entire armhole, find the midpoint, then you make a curve down to the bust point. Now, when we are done with that, from your hip line, you go down by 3 inch. Then, from the full blouse length, you take away 1 inch. That we are taking out that from the base of the gown, of the blazer. This is because we don't want it to be too flay, too open at the back. So we are taking out the dart so that it will be a bit fitted behind. Now after you're done with that, we are going to take the other body measurement. We're going to take our body measurement. Now on the chest line, we've already taken out the bust measurement plus our seam allowance. Then on the waistline is 28. 28 divided by 4 is 7. Now 7 plus the dart we took from the middle, we took 1 inch dart. 7 plus the dart, then plus your seam allowance. The seam allowance I'm making use of is 1.5. So on the hip line, you measure your hip measurement, divide by 4, then you add the seam allowance 1.5 or whatever seam allowance you're making use of. After doing that, we are going to use our meter rule and our curve to connect the lines together. Connect the lines together. Now, after we're done connecting the lines together, at the middle, we're going to take out half-inch darts. Half-inch darts. This is because our back is not entirely straight; it's a bit curved in the middle. So you take out half-inch dart from your waistline. Half-inch dart from your waistline. After doing that, we're going to cut the measurement out. We're going to cut everything out. So we are done with that. You can see this is the back, the side back, and the center back. So I didn't label mine, so you can do yours. You label them so you don't get confused when you're cutting them on your fabric. Next, we're going to draft the front piece. Now, to draft the front piece, make sure your pattern paper is on a fold. Fold it into 2. After folding your pattern paper into 2, you will measure 5 to 6 inches down from the edge of the pattern paper. 5 inch or 6 inch down from the edge of the pattern paper and draw a straight line across. This is because the top part of that line, we're going to use it for the collar. Now, after doing that, if you notice, I added more pattern paper to the one I'm using. This is because the full length of the blazer was more than the pattern paper, so I needed to add more pattern paper to get the exact length I need. So if your blazer is short, there's no need, but if you want it to be a bit long up to your nail, you need to add pattern paper below. Now, after doing that, you draw the line like I said. After drawing that line, we're going to start our measurement from that line. Now we're going to take our bust point measurement, which is 10, under bust 13. For the front piece, we need the under bust measurement 13, then your half length, then the hip length. After the hip length, then you take the full blouse length, just like we did at the back. The only difference is at the front, you need to add your under bust measurement. Now, after doing that, you draw a horizontal line across those points. Remember, your pattern paper is still on a fold. Fold your pattern paper into 2. Now, after doing that, we're going to draft out the neck measurement. The neck measurement is the normal neck 3 by 3, 3 inches wide, 3 inches deep. After doing that, you get your curve and draft out the neck curve. Now, when we are done drafting out the neck curve, we're going to measure our shoulder length. I'm using 7. Then from that 7, you go down by 1 inch to get your shoulder slope. Now, from that shoulder slope point, you measure your armhole depth. After measuring the armhole depth, you draw a straight line across the armhole depth to get your chest line. When you're through with that, you label your lines so you don't get confused. Next, we're going to take the nipple to nipple measurement. Now, the nipple to nipple measurement I'm using is 8. 8 divided by 2 is 4. So you're going to mark 4 on all the lines. You mark 4 on all the lines, then you draw a vertical line that will pass across those points. You draw a vertical line passing across those points. Next, we're going to take out our darts. We'll take out the dart on the waistline. we're taking out 1 inch that is half inch on both sides. After taking out half inch on both sides, you connect them to the bust point line. After connecting them to the bust point line, from the bust point, you measure 12 inch down. That will be the end of the darts. That will be where the dart will stop. Next, we're going to take out 1 inch on both sides of the dart on the underboss line. 1 inch on both sides of the dart on the underboss line. This is exactly like a princess dart bustier. Now, if you're confused here, down in the description box, I've listed out the video on how to draft a princess dart. How to draft a princess dart is down in the description box if you're confused here. So if you're confused here, I will advise you go down in the description box and watch the video so you don't get, so you will clarify on how to do that. And next, by the side, we are going to take out the side dart. Now the side dart also, down in the description box, I have a video of how to draft a basic body pattern. A full explanation is there on how to take out this side dart. So you go down in the description box and watch it how to draft a basic body pattern, okay? Now after doing that, on the chest line, we're going to take our bust measurement, divide by 4. On the waistline, we're going to take our waist measurement, that's your half length measurement, divide by 4, plus the dart we took out on that waist. We took out 1 inch dart. Plus that dart, then you connect it from the waistline down to the chest line. You take your bust measurement, divide by 4, you write it on the chest line, your waist measurement divide by 4 plus the 1 inch that we took. Then on your hip line, your hip measurement divide by 4. Then you can draw a line with your curve and your ruler, connecting all those lines together. Next, we go to the armhole. You divide your armhole into 2 to get the midpoint. Now, whatever you have at the midpoint, you go in by 0.5 inch. You go in by 0.5 inch, then you draw a curve from the points you mark on your chest line, from your bust point measurement you mark on your chest line. You pass through those points to get the armhole. Now, after getting the armhole, we're going to take our meter rule and measure the entire curve on the armhole. After measuring the entire curve, we're going to find the midpoint, just like we did at the back. Then from that midpoint, you draw a curve down to your bust point. Like I said, this is exactly like a princess dart. If you're confused, check in the description box below on how to draft a princess dart. The full explanation is there. After doing that, by the side, we take out 1 inch dart. Then with that 1 inch that we've taken out by the side, we'll place it outside the armhole. Then we'll draw our curve to connect it all together. If you're confused here, please watch how to draft a princess dart in the description box. I explained detailed on how to do that. Now after we are done with that, we are going to open our pattern paper. You know, from the beginning I told you your pattern paper should be on a fold. Fold it into 2. So you can see. So when we are done with that, from that line, that straight folded line, you measure 4 inch. Now this 4 inch is your nipple to nipple measurement, just like we did at the other side. You do the same thing here. You measure 4 inch, beginning from the folded line. You measure 4 inch on those lines. On those lines, you can see I'm extending the line. You extend the lines, then you measure 4 inch and draw a vertical line straight. When you're done with that, from your neck, from the neck, you draw a diagonal line. That means you draw a slanted line from the neck and stop on your underbust. Now when we are done with that, we're going to take out the back piece and measure the round neck. Now this is the reason why we drafted the back piece first because of the neck measurement. You measure your neck. Now what I got was 3.5. Then from my shoulder line, I'll go up by 3.5, make a mark, then follow the slanted line. I'll follow the slanted line and go up to that point. That point I mark 3.5. Now when we are done with that, I'll go out by ½ inch. I'll go outside the line by ½ inch to get a curve. That's the curve for the collar. Now after doing that, I'm going to measure how wide I want my collar to be. I'm using 3 inch. So I'll measure 3 inch in to get the wideness of the collar. So after we're done with that, next we go to the neck curve, the beginning of our neck curve. You measure 2 inch or 2.5 from the beginning of your neck curve. After doing that, you draw a line from the point down to the beginning of your neck curve. It should be a bit slanted, not completely straight. Now when we are done with that, we're going to draw a line from our underbust connecting to that point we just marked on the neck curve. The line should be a little bit curved. That will bring out the collar. That will bring out the lapel of the blazer. So you make it curve. You make the line to be curved from your underbust connecting to that line we just drew from the neck. Now after doing that, from that line go by ½ inch and also go in by ½ inch also to get the notch collar. You go up by ½ inch and also go inside by ½ inch to get the neck collar. Then you draw a line connecting to the beginning of the neckline. A line from that point to the beginning of the neckline. Then you just connect from there down to the collar. You connect from there up to the collar. So you can see with that we've gotten the notch collar. We've gotten the collar of the blazer. So don't get confused in this part, okay? Now you can see we're done drafting out our double-breasted blazer. So the last thing we're going to do now is the side dart. We're going to cut across the line, the side dart line, the second line. Then we'll close it up. We close it up because it's a dart. So you have to close up the dart. You use a sellotape. You close it up. After doing that, we are going to join the lines together from the waistline up to your chest line. We're going to join the lines together from your waistline up to your chest line. Then when you're done with that, you just cut out your pattern. I just crossed out the parts we will not be needing. So these parts we are going to cut them out. This part I just crossed, we are going to cut them out. So when you're done with that, you cut out your pattern paper. So we just drafted out our double-breasted blazer. This is the pattern. So to do next is the buttons, where to fix the buttons. Now you start fixing your buttons from the underbust, and the spaces should be 5 inch between the space of the buttons. If you want it lesser, you can use 4 or 3, but I use 5. You know the buttons are 2. You fix the buttons on 2 different lines. So on the second line, it should be a distance of 6 inch. Then between the buttons, a distance of 5 inch. Okay. So this is all for the blazer. And please don't forget, we're fixing the buttons on the right side of the front piece. The right side of the front piece, that's where we're fixing the button. Now to draft out the sleeve for the blazer, I already have a video on it. My previous video was on how to draft a sleeve, both long and short. It's down in the description box. Please check the description box to know how to draft the sleeve of the blazer. Please subscribe to my channel if you enjoyed this video or if you find it helpful. Thank you.